This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Break the Bell Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live and we are late, but we're live.
And that's all that counts. Hello, beautiful bell breakers.
That's all that really matters is we're here.
We're live.
We're live. We're alive.
Yes.
Who cares if we're late?
Right.
I mean, you probably care if we're late, but I don't care that we're late. Do you care?
I'm late to most things.
Oh, okay. Actually, you were on time being late. Maybe I shouldn't have told you I was going to be late, because maybe you would have showed up on time.
That's true.
But usually when you show up on time, you screw everything up.
That's true. Nothing works after that.
It's true. So I had some other engagements that went later than I thought, and then it was like 5:30, and I hadn't even wrote a word on paper yet, and I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna push this one back. Otherwise, which conveniently enough, I actually was done with everything right at 7. So technically, we could have started.
Yeah.
But
why rush?
It would have been chaotic, but it's probably gonna all go off the rails anyway. So
it usually does. But you got your coffee, and
I got my
your
coffee.
tobacco this week.
I do have tobacco this week too. So all is right in the world. Coffee and the right kind of nicotine. How's everybody doing? This is the Break the Bell podcast. At least that's what I've been told. If you find out otherwise, let me know. We do the show every Monday night, typically live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I did say the summers were going to get a little flexible anyway. So, I mean, It's the first day of May. It's still cold outside, but we're just going to start the flexibility early, I guess.
I'm good
Keeping
with
y'all on your toes. Derek Ambrose is here. Derek says that he's glad we're here. He says, thank God I couldn't stand Tim interrupting everyone on Timcast anymore. I'm now here to interrupt you. You're welcome. Derek, you are more than welcome to continue to interrupt us because, that's what makes the show interesting is you talking shit to us, and that just opens up the door for us to talk shit right back to you. Joseph is here. And he was ready at 7. Good for you, Joe. Good for you. At least somebody was doing something right.
Even if we're here at 7, we're rarely ready. So.
Well, yeah. Let's not make this anything more than it actually is. So tonight, I didn't want to get into the 2024 election stuff already, but, it's just there. And I think I just briefly mentioned last week or the week before that RFK Jr. had announced his bid, and I was like, this is something interesting that I'm going to have to put on the back burner.
Yeah.
Well, the back burner has arrived, and we got to talk about this guy because, you've got a Democrat, which typically anytime I'm not like a party pusher, really.
Right.
Clearly, I don't support either side.
You never push parties.
No, but typically you hear so-and-so is running as a Democrat. It's just like, oh. Yeah. But then RFK Jr. announces his candidacy, and he's like, well, he's running as a Democrat, so you got... But have you heard some of the shit this guy is saying?
Right, yeah.
He's got his past.
Right.
Like all of us do.
Well,
all of them do.
I was going to say, he's a Kennedy.
He's a Kennedy. Right. He's a not a philanthropy. Lady man.
Yeah.
Kennedy.
Yes.
He's got, I'm sure, skeletons in his closet.
I was going to say there's a mysterious death in his past.
At least one.
Yes.
At least all of the deaths in his past are mysterious deaths. I'm going to venture out to say this guy is probably going to get offed before this happens. So
right.
I mean, just
Father,
looking
like
at the Kennedy track record,
Right.
that's most likely what's going to happen. Father, uncle, cousin,
Right.
all of them.
Especially with the things he's saying out there, right? I mean,
yeah,
he's ruffling all the wrong feathers.
He's like the highest profile conspiracy
Right.
theorist out there. Yeah. He peddles conspiracy theories. He's an anti-vaxxer. He's supposedly supports the Second Amendment. Supposedly. Okay. I mean, he does. He kind of thinks there should be a little bit less shootings out there.
Sure.
But his opinion is that the existing gun laws need to be enforced, not make new gun laws. Right. So, I mean, let's fix the problems that are there before we create more problems, right. I guess. I mean, everybody has their flaws, and I'd say probably, even though he is pro Second Amendment, he's probably more pro gun laws than we would claim to be, because I'm fine with a machine gun.
Right, yeah.
I'm okay with that. Or
give one to everybody.
A howitzer.
Right.
Yeah, just give it to everyone.
Yeah.
He's pro-abortion.
Yeah.
He's more like let the woman decide versus let the governments decide, which kind of in a way I mean, I'm not pro-abortion, but I see what he's saying there. Yeah. He's very much against the government coming in and taking your freedoms away, which is kind of what we stand for here.
Yeah, he came out against kind of the Patriot Act and like surveillance on the populace.
Yeah, and he's like very anti like merger between big corporations and the state. So, and I can get on board with that. So I don't know. We're going to have to talk about this guy because I might get a lot of shit for looking like I support a Democrat, but I mean, this guy is kind of like checking some boxes at least.
Right.
More boxes than most candidates have checked in a very long time.
I mean, he's not a career politician.
That too. He is an environmentalist, so
and that seems to be the bulk of his interest.
But the way he goes about it is not the typical corporate environmentalist like billionaires making $1 billion. He's like totally against that.
No, he's gone
against the
toe-to-toe.
Green Deal. He's against WEF. He's against all that shit.
He's gone toe-to-toe with some of the bigger corporations over some of it.
Sure.
So.
And we'll get into all that stuff because he's an interesting character.
He is.
If you've taken any time to take a look at him, he's interesting to say the least.
He's worth a look.
Yeah, I mean,
which is why we're doing this.
Yeah, we're taking a look. I haven't read too much into him before, like this week, so I'm not saying, hey, I'm voting for RFK Jr., but if it came down to Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and RFK Jr., I would probably say right now, I'd probably throw in my hat to RFK Jr., just because he's not a total dumbass like the others. We got to get through the pre-show before we totally...
do the hardcore
stuff. Before we spoil it for everyone. Make sure you check us out all over the social medias. You can find us on the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and the Twitters out there. Our handle is @BreakTheBellPod. Like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff that the kids are telling you to do these days so that we can become famous and someday achieve our political aspirations in life, which are zero political aspirations, but maybe maybe
never
someday.
You
just don't know.
Right?
Maybe we'll get to a time where we're like, I don't want this, but America needs this.
Exactly.
So, we got to achieve a certain level of fame first. So
Absolutely.
Share us all over the social medias so we can achieve that level of fame, just in case for some odd reason down the road we do feel the need that we need to throw our name in the hat. So all this here is just build up to some political career for us that we don't want.
Yes.
Someday.
But isn't that the politician you want? Is the one that doesn't want it?
So what? So I want me as a politician because I don't want to be a politician. Oh, got it. I'm tracking with you. Okay. My name is Pedro. Vote for me. Check out our website at www.breakthebellpod.com, and you can find access to all our social media sites. Also, you can find links to our web store where you can buy kick-ass merchandise like the I Won't Eat Your Bug shirt, which I feel like RFK Jr. would wear an I Won't Eat Your Bugs t-shirt.
Yeah.
The We Are Not Your Pawns shirt. We got some logo merchandise. We've got some cups, some this and that, and trinkets and doodads and all that fun stuff. That's at breakthebellpod.com, or you can go to breakthebellpod.bigcartel.com or something like that. But find a link at breakthebellpod.com because I don't remember the direct link now. Check it out. Buy our shit. Look awesome and support the cause, which is us running for some political position someday.
Yes.
We're going to have to print off our campaign T-shirts that we don't want.
Yes.
It'll just say, I don't want this.
Yeah, right. You made me do this.
Yes. Buy that shit. Look for that political campaign T-shirt because someday it will inevitably come.
Yes.
I think that about covers it.
I think so.
You want to kick off our very first 2024 election cycle
let's
podcast
do it.
episode?
It was bound to happen.
We've been putting this off. It is only May of 2023, but it's happening.
Have you seen any presidential ads yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
I have seen one.
Wait, for who?
Ron DeSantis.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Good God. That guy.
I think it was on, it must have been on, what was it on? I think it was it was when I was watching the, no, it wasn't. It wouldn't have been the draft. It was YouTube. It was YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, popped up and it was like, he was like special forces and served Middle East and he's a blue collar guy.
Don't care.
And yeah.
Anything
exactly.
else?
That's it.
Oh, that's it? That's all he was going off
Well,
of.
that's pretty much it, yeah.
Well, that's a pretty shitty campaign. That's not going to win in 2024. Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not ready for this at all.
I'm not. It's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
Is.
Yeah, I'm not ready for the campaign cycle, but we might as well kick it off in style with this tribute to RFK Jr. Let's kick it off. We'll be right back after this intro video.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say? What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What are you saying?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What did you say? Talk to me. What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
What did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
All right, we are back. So, conspiracy theorist, an anti-vaxxer, and an environmentalist walk into a campaign office.
Yes. They're all the same guy.
They're all the same guy. That's the punchline of the joke. Is there such a candidate? Could that candidate actually exist? Like a pro-environmentalist and a pro... let's just look at it on this hand.
Yeah.
Pro-environmentalist and a pro-civil, like, personal liberties.
Right.
Can that exist in one candidate? See, I'm not
Yeah,
opposed
absolutely.
to environmentalism. I'm not. I am
not
like,
either.
I like conservation.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
the fact that I can still like find some places to wander around in nature, even though you got to drive a ways around here because the big farm companies have taken over all the land. But I'm not anti-environmentalism, even though I am like against the freaking climate change people.
Right.
Like the what do they call her? The
green.
The climate potato.
Oh, yeah.
What's her name?
Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg. Yes, the climate
How
potato.
dare you.
Yes, and I'm against the AOCs of the world that have no fucking clue. I'm against the Bill Gates of the world.
Yes.
But I'm not anti-environmental.
No, I'm all about. I'm with you. I'm all about like just being responsible, keeping the planet clean. I draw the line when you are trying to take over people's lives doing it.
When I'm
Or
fine.
the cult faction.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I'm fine with people going around saying, stop fucking littering.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, I saw somebody actually, I thought it was the 90s all over again. I saw somebody driving down the highway and just chucked a cup out the window. I'm like, do people still do that?
Right, yeah, I didn't think
Like,
they
I
did.
thought we lived in an era, I thought we had evolved past
Right.
throwing our empty cups out the window.
Apparently not. That's ridiculous.
I don't know. Maybe not. But for some reason, there is this, like, idea that you cannot be, like, pro small government and a proponent for environmentalism at the same time.
But that's because the portrait of an environmentalist is Greta Thunberg, right? We have to control your carbon footprint.
The climate
right?
potato.
We have we have to tax you. You have to have an electric vehicle, and we're gonna jack up the prices of oil and cars until you get your own.
Right, we
electric
can't
vehicle.
save ourselves. They
Right,
have
right.
to save us.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
I don't know. So, a lot of people are bashing on RFK Jr. for different reasons.
Right,
like
right.
there's the anti-vax part on the one side, and then there's the environmentalist part on the other side. And it's just like, you can take some of the good in all of that and put it in one candidate. And whether or not that's RFK Jr., I don't know.
but
That's
also though, look at his track record, right? For say environmentalist, right? So he's gone, like I said at the beginning of the show, he's gone toe to toe with some of the big boys.
Monsanto.
Yes,
He
right.
hates Monsanto,
Yes.
and that is
he's
enough.
gone after New York State. He's gone
Monsanto
after.
is enough for me to be
Yeah.
like, maybe I'll look into this
He's
guy.
gone after the Pentagon, right? Saying that the U.S. military is the biggest polluter in the country, right? And so he's gone after these guys. It's not like, he's not like John Kerry, who's like, or Al Gore, who's like, we got to save the planet, and then flies his private jet halfway to McDonald's.
I don't know. Is he flying? I'm sure he's flying private jets too. He's
maybe,
a fucking
I don't know.
Kennedy. He's got to be.
Maybe, but he's still going toe to toe with the corporations.
It's true, and I'll give him a little bit of credit for that. Like just the fact that he's called out Bill Gates, he's called out Monsanto, he's called out Anthony Fauci. He goes toe to toe again. At least in interviews, he like butts heads with like big pharma, with big oil, and all these companies that not even companies, corporate entities that just have nobody's best interest except their own greedy pocketbooks at hand. So we'll get into some of that, but it's intriguing to me, to say the least. Like, we got this guy who is like promising to like shake up politics as we know it.
Right.
It sounds a little familiar.
Right. Yeah.
But with a little more intelligence than Donald Trump ever was. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
he's on the other side of the aisle, but he's not like far left.
He's like,
and that's
hate
the problem.
to say the cliche, he's a Kennedy Democrat.
He's a Kennedy Democrat,
and that's I mean,
he's the first Kennedy Democrat we've had in quite a while.
Yeah, and he's literally a Kennedy Democrat. So yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in. It's an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah.
So the thing that intrigues me the most about this is all the headlines talking about how dangerous of a man this is going to be, and that to me is just like, that's the guy I want right there.
Right, yeah,
That's
exactly.
him.
Yeah,
I
right.
want him because
I want the dangerous guy.
You guys are scared of him,
Yeah.
which means he must be on to at least something.
Right.
Because that's the reason why I was like for Trump back when he first ran. It's like they're like clearly shitting their pants over Trump running.
Yeah.
I want to see what this is all about.
Right.
And I just, for shits and giggles, want to see what this is all about with this RFK Jr. guy. Yes, he's a Kennedy, which on some sides it's just like the I don't know, the fantasy of a Kennedy as a president again. But then on the other side, it's like, oh, he's a fucking Kennedy. He's
he's like the Democratic version of the Bushes.
Right.
Right.
So let's talk about all this stuff, because he tends to be making a little bit of waves in the polls right now.
Yeah.
Which not quite Biden levels.
Yeah.
But it's telling, because he's sitting at like 21%, I think.
But well, and that's amongst Democrats.
Yes.
Right? I mean, how many independents if they caught wind of this guy, it would be like, you know what? That's not bad.
Yeah, I could get on board. Oh, don't forget, he's also against all the fucking wars we're in right now, too.
Yes.
And that's a pretty big deal right now.
Yeah.
So the really interesting thing is, yes, 20%, 21% doesn't sound like much when Biden's polling like 60, 70%.
Yeah.
But this is pretty big for challenging an incumbent, first of all. I mean, that says a lot to be polling that much against an incumbent. That is supposedly one of the most popular presidents in the history of the United States.
And, you know, it's funny because I had seen an article a couple weeks ago about the other Democrat that's running, Marianne Williams, and said how Biden was scared of her because she had 10%.
Right.
And it's funny to me because they didn't mention RFK.
Because he's more of a threat.
Well, I know.
They don't
I
want
know.
to throw his name out there and make people be like, oh, there is another option that's polling considerably?
Yeah. I just thought that was very interesting.
It is, and it's not surprising either. So this is from Slate.com. It says, what to make of those alarming RFK Jr. polls? And this is how they started out. The noted anti-vaxxer. I mean, that's
That's if you look at his Wikipedia page, that's like what it's, you know.
That's his title.
Yeah,
noted anti-vaxxer, most prominent
and
anti-vaxxer,
conspiracy theorist,
Yes, again, I fully am on board with that. But you know, they're going to use that all day long because they think it's going to be the thing that turns people off to him.
Right.
And that could backfire on them majorly, especially like you're saying with the independents that don't want a Donald Trump to run, don't see much of a viable option popping up in the middle anywhere anytime soon, but also really aren't for Joe Biden's policies at all.
Right.
They might see just the anti-vaxxer like, who's this guy all about? Right. So if they keep throwing it out there, they might actually attract some anti-vax voters.
Yeah.
And then all hell's going to break loose, obviously. The noted anti-vaxxer is getting significant support in the presidential polls, but it may not be what it seems. Of course. Let me zoom in. I can't read that small.
No doubt.
In an effort to contextualize just how poorly things have gone for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential aspirations, CNN wrote about how he's faring no better against Trump than a protest candidate is against Joe Biden. Things have gotten so bad for DeSantis that a recent Fox News poll shows him at 21%, CNN said, comparable with 19% that RFK Jr., who has pushed debunked conspiracy theories about vaccine safety, is receiving on the Democrat side. Now, are you all thinking what I'm thinking? Because there's an eye-catching number in that sentence, and it's not related to Ron DeSantis. Kennedy officially launched his Democrat primary bid on April 19th after about a month or two of making noise about it. In an April 9th morning consult poll, 10% of those surveyed said they would support Kennedy for the Democratic presidential nomination. The day of Kennedy's launch, a U.S. Today Suffolk poll had Kennedy at 14%. The Fox News poll released April 26, referenced by CNN, showed Kennedy at 19%. Kennedy was at 21% on April 27th Emerson College poll. So in 1 month, he went from like 10% to 21%, just like that. And he's barely begun speaking yet.
Right.
Says 10, 14, 19, 21. Each of those is a significant number of percentage points for a primary challenger to an incumbent president. Not nearly enough, of course. President Biden still is earning 60 to 70% in all those polls. Kennedy is not nearly at the point at which Biden and his affiliates would have to consider running ads against him or for Biden to seriously entertain debating him. But even if 21% ends up as Kennedy's high watermark, it does speak to a fundamental problem with Biden's reelection campaign, a problem that Democrats are still publicly whistling past. Before we get to that, there are a few reasons why Kennedy is getting some modest traction. The biggest is that his name is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's the son of one of the most famous Democratic politicians ever. The Kennedy name isn't quite the golden ticket it used to be. Just ask Joe Kennedy III, who is not a senator. But it's still good enough to spout you a dozen polling points or so. Kennedy also offers a offers a politics that appeals directly to the small but existent left side of the political horseshoe. Once a mainstream Democrat environmentalist, Kennedy has become a far more fringe figure over the past couple of decades. He has been one of the leading figures of the anti-vaccine movement since the 2000s and a proponent of the debunked theory that childhood vaccines cause autism. He was not, to say the least, a fan of COVID-19 vaccines or mandates, and he has accused Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates of teaming up to profit off them. His conspiratorial thinking spreads much further, as he's also been on a crusade against 5G. In the mainstream, he's long been cast off as a kook, but kooks have followings too. So a kook, because of some of the conspiracy theorist stuff. A kook. Now, I don't know if you remember this. Who else was written off as a kook when he first ran? Yeah. And I remember saying the day that he announced his campaign, the day he came down the escalators, that guy's going to fucking win. Just because he is a kook that is saying the things that the people want to hear. This guy is a little bit more intelligent in his delivery.
Yes, a lot more.
He happens to have some conspiratorial thoughts, which are based off a lot of truth.
And also, I mean, a lot of it is based on critical thinking. So, I mean, he can back up his thoughts with his research that he's done.
He's not just quoting Alex Jones or Q like Donald Trump was.
Exactly.
Donald Trump's like, oh, I heard a guy once say that I'm going to save the world from all the Satanists out there, and I think that's exactly what I am. And it's just like,
right, exactly.
Yeah, that Q guy, he's a great guy. He's one of the best guys that I've ever met. But this guy isn't like, hey, did you see that Reddit post I read yesterday? No, it's like he's quoting scientists that have done studies.
Yes.
I mean, wrong or right, I don't care what your beliefs is. At least this guy has the decency to back himself up.
Right,
a lot of it.
And at the very least, it raises questions of, hey, maybe the science is there that you should actually look into something, you know?
Right. It says, an April poll from NBC News before Biden announced found that 70% of Americans, including 51% of Democrats, did not believe Biden should run for a second term. So the paragraph before says, the main reason these two eccentrics, which one being that, what's that other girl's name?
Marianne Williams.
Yeah. The main reason these two eccentrics have a surprising primary polling foothold against an incumbent president is because they are the only two warm bodies giving it a go against a president who a supermajority of Americans believe should not run for president again.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard would it be to throw your shoe in when nobody wants the other guy to run? Even though they're like, well, 70% says no to Biden, and then Kennedy throws his shoe in the mix, and they're like, well, maybe not Kennedy, maybe Biden.
Do we have anybody else?
So, I mean, what is that? Is that kind of telling about Biden that you've got a guy pulling at 21% and B, a girl pulling at 10%? That's 31% of the vote right there for the Democrats.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty significant.
And this is the guy who won by the largest vote ever.
Oh,
remember?
Yes, 80 million or whatever.
Yeah, 84 million.
Whatever that made
that's
up bullshit
never
number
been
was.
done before. Not
never
even Obama.
done in history, no. But this guy, 70% of America says, yeah, don't do that again, please. Right. Please don't do that again. Says the reason Democrats gave up and are basically all Team Biden is that the alternative frightens them more. The alternative would be a messy primary that corners its candidates into unwise ideological commitments and most likely ends up with Vice President Kamala Harris winning the nomination.
Yeah, let's see that.
I mean, that is a dangerous gamble to take. It's like, well, not Biden. It's like, well, that leaves us with Kennedy, Kamala, and this other chick nobody's heard of.
Right.
And they're like, well, I guess that leaves us with the chance that Kamala becomes. No, let's stick with Biden. Can we just stick with Biden?
Well, what's Bernie doing? Can we get him back?
Dude, he's older, isn't he?
Yeah.
Says, I can't say I disagree with the calculations here, but Democrats shouldn't underestimate the amount of work it's going to take to prove to the country, to its own party's voters, that Biden has another 4 grueling years in him. A Kennedy outcast putting up 20 percentage points out of the gate is what we might call a sign of limited confidence in the standard bearer.
You think?
What's your thoughts so far on that? Just that alone.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's telling when, I mean, it's very rare for an office to run a candidate against an incumbent of their same party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't even think in number of times history, maybe Bob Dole versus Reagan, but it was the same thing because Reagan was older, and so they weren't quite sure he'd be able to make it. And they weren't wrong because of his what do you call it?
Alzheimer's?
Yes, thank you. His Alzheimer's. A lot of people said he was kind of a vegetable in there the last couple of years,
We got Joe Biden.
Well, he's been a vegetable the last couple of years.
The last 8 years, he's been a vegetable.
Yes.
I mean, it's okay if he's a vegetable when he runs for a second term, when he's been a vegetable his entire first term.
Right.
That's fine.
Yes.
That's okay. Man, the bar has gotten a lot lower since the Reagan day.
No doubt. But, I mean, at the same token, I mean, we're assuming he's even going to live to get sworn in for a second. I mean,
well, we didn't think he was going to live to get sworn in the first
that's
term.
true.
We
That's
didn't
true.
think he'd live to make it through his first
That's
year.
true.
He's still fucking here as far as
I know.
As far as
I mean,
we
as far
know.
as we know.
As far as we know.
right.
Yes. I think it's interesting how this article is just writing his success off as a lack of support for Biden. Like, there's no other reason
and his
why.
name.
And
right.
his name, yeah. It's not possible that anybody might hear the things he's saying and agree with it. They just don't like Joe Biden.
Right.
They just like that it's a freaking Kennedy. Oh, and there's some merit to that. I mean, the Kennedys' name does pull still some.
It
Maybe
does.
not nearly as much as it did 40 years ago, but especially to like the older generation, I think the Kennedy name would probably do some polling.
And I do feel like a good portion of people really just want Trump and Biden to go away.
Yeah, I do too. And they hear this guy saying, let's get out of the exhaustive wars. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a hot topic that the Republicans have been all for their existence pretty much. And the Democrats are known to be anti-war.
Right. Although,
and then all of a sudden now they are all pro-war and like military-industrial complex, like baby children. Then you get this guy that's like, what if we don't do that? What if we don't do the wars anymore? And it's just like, these exhaustive wars that they keep saying that they're not going to get us into. Yeah, that'd be great if we had somebody to not get us into some.
Yeah.
Joseph says, I'm a little put off by the 5G and vaccine autism positions, but I've done zero research in those areas, so moot point. Joseph, do some research. I don't know where I stand with them, to be honest, but read into it a little bit. All right, side tangent about 5G. I have no idea what the fuck 5G is, but I don't think it's what they say it is, and that's why I believe whatever conspiracy theory anybody would throw at me about 5G. The reason is because every time I get downtown and my phone now switches to 5G, it goes slower than 3G ever ran back in the day.
Yeah.
It's just like, I thought the whole fucking point of 5G was to make my phone faster, and every time my phone is going ungodly slow, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going. Oh, I'm in 5G again. So if it's not to speed your phone up, what is it for?
Right.
So little things like that
make
me ask RFK Jr., what are they doing with the 5G if, in fact, they're not speeding up our phones? Because that was the whole thing. It's like, make it like 10 times faster with 5G.
Yeah.
Nope, haven't seen it.
The most education I got off 5G was from a homeless guy in Gulf Shores, Alabama.
Oh, yeah? How'd that go?
Well, it was very educational. And he may or may not be running from a murder charge in Mississippi.
All right. So what was his stance on 5G?
They're going to use it to control our brains.
I've heard that. I've heard
Yes.
like the 5G frequency is like the same frequency that your brain runs off of, so they can control your brain patterns with it. RFK Jr., I don't think he gets that quite that kooky
No, I
and
don't
crazy.
think so either.
He's more like, hey, they're just looking for another way to steal your data.
Right.
And
And they might not be
Absolutely.
wrong with that either.
No, he's not wrong with that. Everything they invent is another
Yeah.
way to steal your data.
Yeah.
So that's not that kooky in my opinion.
Mhm.
That's just what they do.
Yeah.
That's like 5 years ago if somebody had said, well, all social media is doing is, or let's say 10 years ago, all social media is created for is to steal all your data. A lot of people would be like, you're freaking crazy. This is like an amazing invention. It's bringing the world together and blah, blah, blah. And then fast forward to 2016, and it's like, oh, Facebook was stealing all your data. And we're just like, oh, shit.
Yeah, right. We did our show, and we were like, wow, okay.
Derek says, I work in the cell industry, and depending on your carrier, 5G is just rebranded 4G. U.S. Cellular 5G is literally the same as 4G.
I believe that.
But it's slower than the 4G, though, because everywhere I have LTE,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Verizon, but everywhere I have LTE, it works like I expected. Like, in my opinion, when they release 5G, I'm like, why does it need to go? Like, it works fast enough as it is. And then I get into 5G, I'm like, boy, I wish I had LTE again because this is fucking slow.
Now, the vaccine autism thing, I mean, we've heard this forever, right? But I thought it was interesting because I was listening to him explain his position. And the way he talked about it was, it was from environmental standpoint, he was combating the high levels of mercury that are in sea life and seafood and stuff. And so he was talking to a scientist, and they said, well, you think this is bad? You should see the mercury they put in some of the vaccines. And so that's what kind of led him to start.
Yeah, he started out down that path, like, and battling like Monsanto and stuff, and then realized that it was all kind of like linked together with like the big oil techs are in bed with the big pharma and in bed with the big, like, I think it's more, I don't know, I haven't heard him talk a ton on it. I think it's probably for a reason. He obviously is well known for his anti-vax stance, but it's not like he goes like and does lectures just specifically on that. But just raising the question is enough for people to be like, oh, that's an anti-vax kook. It's like, why can't we ask these questions? Like, what are you injecting in our bodies?
Well, and he, with the talk I taught, and he didn't expound upon it, but he did say, I'm not anti-vax. And they didn't really let him expand on it. But
oh, they don't. They don't at all. I mean, ABC went as far as to like censor.
I saw that,
and we'll get into that because it pisses me off because she asked him the fucking question, knowing what he was going to answer, and then later they're like, "Oh, we had to cut this part out because of his." It's like you knew what his answer was. He hasn't been shy about it, and then so you ask him the question, and then you're like, we don't want you to put that on the air. It's ridiculous, but that was just like a couple days ago.
And as far as, and it's interesting because Beto mentions his uncle and his dad having been assassinated. He does think that there's a lot more to those assassinations. He does not believe in.
Yeah, and I was going to get into that too.
Okay, sorry.
That's like the second half.
Okay,
that's
sorry.
the crazier side of it. But yeah, he's definitely one of
that
the
right
biggest,
there. They're probably like, shit.
It's like he's giving away our secrets, and he would know.
Yeah, right.
Kill him. So this guy is political royalty, I guess you could call him.
I would say so.
But how much political pull does the Kennedy family still have? I mean, they're still in politics.
Right.
I do have a list of Kennedys that are still up there in the political game. I wanted to just read through a little bit and see if we recognize. I think what is it, Kathleen Kennedy? She makes
Caroline,
or Carol. Is it, which one's the one that like makes wind a lot?
I think it's Caroline.
Is it Carolyn?
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Joseph P. Kennedy. So this is all the Kennedys. I'm not going to read through the elder Kennedys because we all know of them.
Yeah.
Let's get into Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, who is the eldest child of Robert and Ethel Kennedy. She served 2 terms as Maryland's lieutenant governor, but lost her bid for governor in 2002. So
I remember that one. There was a big deal.
Really?
That a Kennedy lost in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Or Maryland.
Caroline Bouvier Kennedy is the lone surviving child of President JFK. She was appointed by Barack Obama to become U.S. ambassador to Japan, the first woman to hold the post. Kennedy is an attorney and an author and is married with 3 children. Joseph P. Kennedy II, who's the eldest son of Robert and Ethel. He's 64, served 5 terms in Congress representing Massachusetts. Joe P. Kennedy III, he is the 36-year-old son of Joseph P. Kennedy II and Sheila Rauch, and is serving his 3rd term in the U.S. House representing Massachusetts. So he's not a senator, but he is in the House of Representatives. RFK Jr., who we're talking about, we'll skip past that, but apparently he recently said that President Donald Trump asked him to chair a commission on vaccine safety. Now, that would have been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
Patrick J. Kennedy is the 49-year-old son of Edward Kennedy, or Teddy Kennedy, served 8 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Bobby Shriver III, he's the brother of former First Lady of California, Maria Shriver, and son of Eunice and Sergeant Shriver, was a member of Santa Monica City Council and served as mayor. Does that really count?
No.
City Council and up to
mayor.
I mean, mayor of maybe like New York. I mean, Santa Monica's pretty big, but,
but
he served for 8 months, though, as mayor.
Yeah, but his
Your mic's not near you at all.
His Austrian ex-brother-in-law was governor.
Yes. I had to remind myself who Maria Shriver was. I was like,
yeah.
who is she married? Because it said former First Lady of California. I was like, it wasn't, what's the dumbass's name now? Who's the governor there now?
Oh, Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom. I'm like, she wasn't. Oh yeah, Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold. Can't forget Arnold. Mark Kennedy Shriver was the son of Robert, or Sergeant, and Eunice Kennedy Shriver. Served in Maryland legislature. Robert Sergeant Shriver served as, let's see, he was in the Peace Corps fighting poverty and less successfully running for office, died in 2011 at age of 95. It doesn't say what office, but he didn't really do anything, apparently.
Yeah.
And then they put in that mix
Arnold.
Arnold.
But she's not really part of the family anymore.
No. Arnold Schwarzenegger was a former California governor and now host of the TV show The Apprentice. I didn't know he went on to host The Apprentice, so he's going to make a president. He technically can't. He can't because he's not.
Right, unless they somehow change the rules.
Which they could. He can. He married journalist and book author Maria Shriver in 1986. The couple had 4 children and separated in 2011.
After he screwed the maid.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the Kennedy legacy. So
they still have quite a bit in there.
But nothing has ever gotten to the level of Senate.
Right.
Or, God forbid, higher, the president.
Teddy Kennedy ran for president at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, then he drove his car into a lake and killed a woman.
Yeah.
And he lost all those odds.
Yeah.
So that went out the window really fucking fast. It's like, wasn't he drunk too or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that all got swept under the rug and nothing, no charges, no nothing.
Right. But he also didn't really do anything in prominence.
Well,
until right before he died. They did this whole medical bill named after him because he had a brain tumor or something.
Oh, of course. They all get brain tumors.
Right.
All those guys, it's from eating the babies. From drinking the baby's blood. Anyways, speaking of conspiracy theories, that is an interesting story on its own because he's a Kennedy. Let's sweep that under the rug. But there goes your chance of ever following in the footsteps of the others. But since then, I don't even think anybody's even shot for higher off.
No.
JFK Jr.
Yeah, there was talks because he was kind of a hot up-and-comer, and then his plane went down.
And then his plane crashed, yes. Yeah. So I think if any one of them had a chance, it would have been JFK Jr. Yeah. And now we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yes.
Did you think there would ever be a time when a Kennedy would shoot for that
I did not
role again?
Yeah, I did not.
You thought they were just kind of a fizzling out dynasty?
I thought they petered out. I did not know there was any more prominent Kennedys out there.
I mean, I had heard of RFK and the anti-vax stuff, but it wasn't anything like, hey, I have political aspirations by any stretch. But there also was the theory, we can't forget the good theory that JFK Jr. is still alive.
Right, absolutely.
And he's Q.
Right. Oh, okay. I didn't know he was Q.
Yeah, he's Q, and he's alive, and he's going to make his final entrance and then run alongside Donald Trump.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So
wow.
Maybe RFK is just paving the road for his cousin's return.
That would be something.
I mean, seriously, I would vote for dead JFK Jr. I absolutely would, just because it's just like, why not vote for the dead guy?
Right.
So, another interesting thing that they didn't put in here, I'm pretty sure RFK Jr.'s sister was married to Andrew Cuomo at one point, too.
Yes, yep. Because Andrew Cuomo wanted to put him in charge of an office in New York, and he declined because he said that it would be nepotism, and he didn't want that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? A Kennedy is worried about nepotism?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Isn't the only reason you are where you are right now is because of nepotism?
Right. Basically.
I mean, I can get behind that. I can put a little bit of trust in, or I don't know. I respect that, at least.
Yeah,
I respect that he turned that down.
Well, at least not working for a shithead like Cuomo.
No shit. Good God. Well, is that what led Cuomo to divorce his sister?
Probably.
Is that what, it's like, well, he probably only married the Kennedys to get in with the Kennedys in the first place. Beto says, in 2022, RFK Jr. awarded Brian Manihan, Prince Harry and Meghan, and President Zelensky. He supported Hillary. We're going to get there. We're going to get to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
He supported Hillary. He did. And praised her as Obama's choice of Secretary of State. But he found Trump's rise scary. Yeah. Now, I'm by no means saying this guy is the best fit for the
because he also supported Jim Carrey and Al Gore. So
Jim Carrey.
Not Jim Carrey, John Kerry.
I would support him if he supported Jim Carrey. Yes. So, yeah, he supported a lot of shady people, but...
So did Trump.
So did Trump. Yeah, I don't... You got to get rid of the gum.
Sorry, man.
I can hear it.
It's a bad habit.
Get rid of the fucking gum.
Gum's gone.
You derailed me with that.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of the stuff that might be red flags, too.
Yeah, because there are quite a few.
There's always going to be red flags with politics.
Anybody running for president is going to have red flags.
I mean, if you have political aspirations, you are a red flag in the first place. But I want to look at his reasoning for running before we get into all that. Yeah. I've got this video. This is on ABC News Live. This is probably the one that got censored for his later anti-vax comments, but I wanted to hear a little bit about what he said.
Tell us, why did you decide to run for president?
I felt like my country was being taken away from me. I felt like I wanted my children to grow up with the same pride in our country and the same.
First of all,
his voice kills me.
First of all, does a man with that voice ever become the president of the United States?
It's going to be a tough hill to climb.
Now,
State of the Union address.
Jesus Christ. Now, the one thing he has going for him is that he's following Joe Biden.
Right.
If he was following Barack Obama,
yes,
eloquent speaker Barack Obama, there's no snowball's chance in hell. Following bumbling Joe Biden, where it's just like,
right.
What the hell did you just say?
Yeah.
The bar is pretty freaking low for
this
speaking.
Is true. That's just true.
This guy, you can at least understand him. Yes, his voice is gravelly, and he attributes that he apparently has some condition with his vocal cords that like vibrate uncontrollably.
And I had mentioned to you, maybe, when he has to do like a State of the Union, he could get like Morgan Freeman to kind of dub for him.
The voiceover for him? Yes, that would be great. I don't know. It's one of those things. Did you ever watch the Friends episode where he wasn't sure if he could see past her fake leg?
Yes.
And then when he finally came to terms with it, she couldn't see past the fact that he had a third nipple.
Yeah.
Is this one of those things? It's like, this guy has all the right things to say, but God, I don't want to listen to that.
Yeah.
To him saying it in that voice. I could read all day long the things RFK Jr. has to say. But listening to a debate in that, or like you said, State of the Union, I'm sorry I'm not being an ableist, but that
I think I could put on closed caption and turn down the volume.
There you go. It's brutal.
Could you imagine him like meeting with a head of state though, like Jinping from China or whatever, and the dude's like, I just can't. I cannot do this.
Well, was it JFK that overcame a stutter or something too?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
It's possible.
One of the big ones overcame like a stutter.
Yeah.
JFK had all kinds of issues, though.
Right, yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's power through this.
And love for our country, and the same idea that we had this, this idealism, these opportunities in our country, and that we had, communities that were filled with dignity and enrichment, and that we were an exemplary nation, and that those things are being lost. And they're being lost because, for a lot of reasons, but really because of the rise of corporatism in this country and this addiction that we have to war. And my party also is becoming the party of war, the party of censorship, the party of fear, and the party of, the neocons and Wall Street. And I just felt like I was in a unique opportunity to change that.
And how so? You've never held a political position before. Obviously, you've been in environmental law for more than 3 decades. But what do you feel qualifies you for the highest position in the land?
I think I know more about how to fix regulatory agencies than any other politician in this country, because I've...
This part is the best thing that he has going for him, is his stance on regulatory agencies, because he talks about the revolving door. He talks about how the regulatory agencies are in the pocketbooks of making laws in favor of the billionaire corporations.
Which we've talked about.
Yeah, we've talked about it so many times.
I've spent 40 years suing them. And when you sue a regulator, you get kind of a PhD in how they work and how to unravel this kind of culture of corporate capture and corruption. And there are ways we can fix these agencies, and we can do it very quickly.
Well, how would you do that? I want to just, because you've been very critical on multiple government agencies, from the CIA, the EPA, the DOT, the CDC, the FDA. If you were to become president, you would effectively be the boss.
Do you remember another president that was highly critical of the CIA?
Yes.
What was his name again?
I believe that was a John F. Kennedy.
John, are they related?
I think
that went well
maybe.
For him, right?
Yeah,
that went well?
Well, mostly until he got to Dallas.
Until his head exploded.
Right.
Boss of all of these agencies that you've cast so many aspersions on and said publicly that there's so much distrust there. How would you run them if...
Yeah, and let me say this, Lindsay. I think most of the people, 90% of the people in those agencies are good Americans. They're good public servants. They're patriots. They are idealistic, and they want to do their job. The problem is the people who rise to power in those agencies usually are the people who are in the tank with industry, who are willing to carry water for the industry, and they're the ones that last for 50 years. They rise because they're willing to do favors for industry and take directions from industry.
Why do you feel that you should challenge Joe Biden?
I've known Joe Biden for 40 years. He's friends with my family. I've considered him a friend. His approach to government and to the Democratic Party is, to me, is completely different than the way. I don't believe that we should be the party of war. I don't believe that we should be the party of Wall Street. I don't believe that we should let neocons dictate our foreign policy, and I don't believe in censorship, for starters. And those are all values that are traditional Democratic Party values.
I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see those as Democratic Party values traditionally over at least the last 15 years.
Right.
But going back in time, we'll talk about, again, the Kennedy Democrats.
Yeah.
It's like, let the public speak, let anti-war stance, going against the corrupt corporate levels, and that's not the Democratic Party anymore. It's all about the censorship. It's all about, now it's shoulders deep in the wars that they supposedly were against.
Right.
And just to come out and say, like, the brief little bit he said there, it's just like, well, that's like a billion times more than any Democrat has the balls to say in the last 20
Even
years.
Republican.
Well,
to be honest.
Well, yeah, but the Republicans want the wars.
Well, yeah. But, when was the last time anybody came out and talked about, how much they're in bed with the corporations?
Right, exactly. It's like, hey, they they carry water for him. And
Yeah.
then what he fails to say is then they go on and have high-level positions for them
Right.
after they
Right.
get out of the regulatory.
Yeah. And sometimes they jump back and forth like Victoria Nuland.
Exactly. So, yeah, just to, I mean, he's making a lot of enemies here for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
In the very least, and apparently that's what the Kennedys do.
Yes.
Is make enemies. So maybe I don't know if maybe his dad and his uncle set the bar up here for making enemies. He's like, I got to get to that level.
Yeah, right.
Let's throw out anti-vax stuff. Let's throw out the big corporation stuff. I don't know because, like, it's not like his family didn't make their means in shady ways.
Right.
Like
absolutely.
the Kennedys rose to fame made their money through bootlegging and in Prohibition, which I'm completely fine with that
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I don't know. There's got to be a lot of corruption in the Kennedy family.
Oh,
too.
I'm sure
So,
there is.
But I don't know. You don't typically hear too much about them being in bed with like the megacorps or the military industrial complex like the Rockefellers clearly are with Standard Oil, like Bill Gates, even Elon Musk, those types, like they make their fortunes off of war.
Right.
And off of the drugs that are killing us. I don't feel like that's the Kennedys, but again, I don't know.
But at the same time, if I feel like if say like John and Robert, right, were going with the flow, right, that all the other maybe Kennedys were, they would not have.
They wouldn't have had their heads blown up.
I mean, they got to the level of presidency that only Lincoln and maybe Roosevelt had gone to Reagan, where somebody decided they wanted to off them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we can't have this anymore. Like, he's talking about traditional democratic values, and it's like, today, these are dangerous things that he's talking about. Like, hey, we got to stop censoring ourselves, like censoring our citizens.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when Elon Musk said that on Twitter, and it's like, oh, Twitter's going to tank. This is, like, people are literally going to die if we stop censoring people.
Yeah.
And you got RFK Jr. kind of saying that same thing.
Yeah.
And people are literally going to die. I mean, you read the headlines. Let me look up the headlines for RFK Jr. because it's freaking
they
asinine.
slam them. Yeah.
Just the headline.
I mean, there's not one good one.
Not really, unless it's like maybe a conservative looking for...
I was going to say, I did see him on the Tucker Carlson show, and they did seem to get along amicably.
Well, it's kind of like the conservatives' relationship with Kanye West. It's like one of them is kind of more on our side with things. And then he'll throw something out and be like, but actually you need to save the environment. They're like, whoa, dude, we thought you were on our side.
And it's funny
what are you doing?
He had his own Anne Frank reference.
Oh, yeah. He said, I have this one. I wrote it down just in case. It was easier for Anne Frank to hide from Nazis than an American to escape from vaccine mandates. Basically, he went on to say that they're basically making it so none of us can run and hide from the vaccine mandates. And then that's like the one thing that everybody's talking about.
Right.
Let's see.
Like you should never reference the Holocaust.
Yes. Why the left praises Tucker Carlson, Marianne Williamson, and RFK Jr.
Okay.
Let's see. Why Steve Bannon and Alex Jones love RFK Jr. I want to get to some of the juicy ones. They were from a few days ago. If it loads. RFK Jr. claims he is the Democrat best position to take, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. That's not good. I don't know. Hang on. Let me get back in time a little bit.
Okay.
But it's all like why he's dangerous. Dangerous to become president. RFK Jr.'s long shot presidential bid may still give Biden a headache. I'll get there. I will get there.
That's good.
RFK Jr. is not your hero.
Who's that from?
Washington Examiner.
Okay.
all of it is noted vaccine skeptic, files to run. Anti-vaxxer activist RFK Jr. challenges Biden for Democrat nomination. So it's all this like scary anti-vax stuff.
Right,
They got to put that title on him.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now I'm not going to find him, of course. RFK Jr. A timeline of RFK Jr.'s controversies. Never seen so many hot MILFs inside RFK Jr.'s White House bid launch.
What?
Because of all his hot ex-wives, I guess.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one. I mean, is that a reason to not vote for him, or
yeah, right?
Is that a reason to vote for him? Let's see. I don't know.
But like, so even like the introduction from Wikipedia, right? Okay, so Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. is an American environmental lawyer and author known for promoting anti-vaccine propaganda and health-related conspiracy theories. He's the son of a U.S. Attorney General and 1968 presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy and nephew of John F. Kennedy. Then it goes on to talk about his radio show, his books he's read, and he's a current candidate. But I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Here's the best one. Steve Bannon spent months recruiting our anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. to run against Biden as a chaos agent.
Who's that from?
Salon.com.
See, that sounds more like a conspiracy theory than anything I've heard him say.
Steve Bannon spent months recruiting anti-vaxxer RFK Jr. to run against Biden as chaos agent. So there you have it. There you have it, folks. And that's enough for me to say, I mean, might as well stir the pot some more.
Right.
I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it. But just going through the headlines looking for something to talk about. Like, I literally saw some that were like, RFK Jr. would be a dangerous candidate for, like, it would put our nation in danger or something like that.
Yeah.
It's so freaking ridiculous. We do need to get to break, but let's look at that part where he got censored from ABC News before we get into.
And it's important to note that so he's married to Cheryl Hines, who apparently she's an actress who played Larry David's wife on Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she's also a director in Hollywood and stuff. So apparently she's pretty big in Hollywood.
Yeah. So I mean, famous people marrying famous people. That's not surprising. One of the hot MILFs in his entourage, I guess.
Right.
So this is from redstate.com. It says ABC News heavily censored Robert F. Kennedy's interview, saying he made false claims about COVID vaccine. And this was the interview that we watched.
Right.
So they ask him questions. He gives them an answer they know he's going to give, and then they censor it, and then make the effort to be like, oh, by the way, we had to censor this because of this.
So then why ask the damn question?
Yeah, it says Joe Biden has drawn a primary opponent who is sucking up a little more support than anticipated. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is currently polling at 21% and 19% respectively against the president in the latest Fox News and Emerson polls. That's earning him more exposure, and ABC News jumped into the fray by doing an extensive interview with Kennedy Jr. on Thursday. The news outlet then proceeded to wreck its credibility in the process. In a disclaimer shared during the interview, host Lindsay Davis explained that the producers heavily edited portions of Kennedy Jr.'s answers because they contained false claims about COVID-19 vaccines. All right, so let's look at the first little clip.
We should note that during our conversation, Kennedy made false claims about the COVID-19 vaccine.
And it's going to load, of course.
COVID-19 vaccines prevented millions of hospitalizations and deaths from the disease. He also made misleading claims about the relationship between vaccination and autism. Research shows that vaccines and the ingredients used for the vaccines do not cause autism, including multiple studies involving more than 1 million children and major medical associations like the American Academy of Pediatrics and the advocacy group Autism Speaks. We've used our editorial judgment in not including extended portions of that exchange.
Used our editorial judgment to not include this.
To censor the hell out of him.
It's like he just came on unprovoked and was like, they're turning the freaking frogs gay. Like something like that's what they make it sound like.
Yeah.
Now here's where they decided to censor out. Here's his unprovoked insanity. Watch this.
You've said in the past that there is a correlation between vaccines leading to autism.
Oh, come on.
And debunked.
Wait a minute, who debunked it?
We have not seen any kind of scientific connection from the...
That's enough for me right there.
Right.
You asked the fucking question.
Yeah.
You led him to give his answer. You said, you gave him the answer in the question. You're like, you have said in the past this, this, and this. He's like, and this is clearly debunked. And he's like, who debunked it? And then it doesn't show what they edited out. So maybe he went on this long turn the frogs gay rant, but we will never know because it's been edited out.
Right.
But you provoked him into that answer.
Right.
Knowing exactly what he was going to say because he hasn't been shy about it for the last 15 years. So you're like, well, tell me about this thing that you believe. And he's like, well, I believe that. And like, oh, you can't say that. We're going to censor this out. All that does is, A, make your news site look like a bunch of dumbasses with no credibility.
Right.
And B, it's going to make people be like, oh, you censored it? Especially since they're like, oh, we had to censor this thing out. And they're like, what did they censor? Type that.
Yeah.
Like, and then find out what he actually stands for.
Right.
All you had to do, like, first of all, nobody probably listened to this interview in the first place.
No,
it's ABC News.
Right.
Who fucking watches ABC News now? But now there's headlines saying ABC News censored RFK Jr. Now people are going to be like, the people that had no interest in watching ABC News in the first place are like, what did they have to censor him about? And then they're going to read what they censored him about, and then they're going to get the information that they wouldn't have got if they just left it on the interview because nobody was watching it.
What's hilarious about it is just a little bit before then, he talks about how he's against censorship and how the Democratic Party has become the party of censorship.
Yeah, and then
they censor him.
They're like, we're going to censor out the part where he says about the censorship.
Yeah.
So, I don't like. It's a freaking joke, and clearly the media is already out against him full force, the way that they were against Donald Trump, and all that did was make Donald Trump the front runner because he was the one everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, what's the old saying? Like, all press is good press. It's like, well, RFK Jr., he's this and he's that, and he's got this, and he talks about that, and he's an anti-vaxxer, and he's an whatever, and people are going to be like, oh, who's this guy they're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, let me look a little bit. Oh, he believes a little in civil liberties. Well, that's definitely better than the alternatives that we've had on both sides.
Right.
And so people will start reading into these people because you're talking about them, and you're just screwing it up for yourselves. If you don't like the guy, just leave him.
Right.
Let ignore him and he'll go away.
Hang himself.
Yeah.
Right. If you feel like his claims are so outrageous, put him out there and let people be like, oh, yeah, this guy is crazy.
And that's how it always was with Trump. It's like all you're doing is inflaming his base. Like, especially now that he's out of office, it's like, well, we had to cut him off for this, and we had to ban him from this. And it's like all you're doing is making the problem that you see as the Trump problem, you're just making it worse. If you just let Trump ramble, he would probably ramble himself to death and just fizzle out. But instead, you are doing exactly the things that he says you are going to do or accusing you of, and then giving him more of a reason to talk and be that anti-politician.
Right. And again, like we were talking about, they're claiming that, okay, in 3 weeks he has 20% approval rating among Democrats. It's not the Democrats you got to worry about.
Right. It's everybody else.
It's everybody else is going to see this and be like, you know what? That's not bad.
And you have a candidate for the first time. Well, I mean, Joe Biden said this, but he pits Republicans against Democrats all the time. Yeah. Any chance he gets, he's bashing on the other side. This guy has come out and been like, when I'm president, I want people to forget that they're Democrats.
Yeah.
I want people to forget that they're Republicans. It's just like, whoa, we have a candidate that wants to bring America together?
Right.
I mean, he said...
Can we do that?
In that first interview, he's just like, I just want America to be proud the way it used to be.
Right.
He all but says, make America great again. I think at one point he says he wants to make America strong again. And I'm just like, how does that...
Massa?
Massa, yes. So... I don't know.
Yeah, but a Democrat that says that? Wow.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Let's like embrace us as a country and become proud of ourselves again. And it's just like for at least a decade, the Democrats' whole stance is like we need to like lower ourselves to be beneath everyone because go on an apology tours and all this stuff. I don't know. This guy has something going for him.
Yeah.
We do got to get into a break. When we come back, I want to get into, because, I mean, we've been kind of glamorizing him a bit, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Mostly because what do we got to work with here? We don't got a lot of good options. And so, I mean, there is the whole Kennedy fantasy, like, rings my bell just because of the conspiracy theorist in me. And it's just like, this guy... Because Trump said he was going to uncover the JFK documents. This guy, I think, would uncover the JFK documents.
Yeah,
he's like, I want to see all of it.
Like,
I want to see it all.
This is the only reason I did this.
Yes. I want to expose who killed my uncle and my father, and it was the CIA.
Yeah. And you know, do you ever watch that show, The West Wing? That had come out years ago.
I have not. Maybe one
Okay,
episode.
so I used to watch it, and I liked it. And I always told my wife, I was like, you know, if there was ever a Democrat that actually acted like this, I would probably vote for him. And so, and he was more of an old school Kennedy type Democrat.
Yeah, right.
You know, so, but that's not what we've gotten in the last 30 years.
What was that? What was the show about the guy who was the HUD guy, the Housing Urban Development guy, and everybody else?
Lone Survivor.
Is that that's what
Designated Survivor?
I was going to say Lone Survivor, but that's a movie.
Right, that's Mark Wahlberg.
That's Mark Wahlberg. Yes, Designated Survivor.
Yeah,
that was that similar type of like bring people together type Democrat that you would think that's like a traditional value Democrat, but that doesn't mean what you think it means these days.
No,
so we're gonna get into break. We need to take a few minutes. When we come back, like I said, I'm gonna try to dig up some of the dirt on this guy and see if we can come up with reasons to hate him, because right now
we've been given the pros. Now we're going to go for the cons.
Yeah, there's got to be cons out there somewhere. So we're going to get into that as soon as we get back from break. So sit back, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Have you ever thought that maybe voting, maybe all this politics constantly surrounding you is not the way to achieve freedom in your life? Hi, I'm Remso W. Martinez, and I ask myself the same question. That's why I'm on a journey to find true freedom in my lifetime. From learning about financial independence, to new ways to develop rugged individualism, to amazing guests living strange, crazy, amazing lifestyles that you've only thought might be real, but actually are. Go ahead and check out my new show, On the Run with Remso W. Martinez at the We Are Libertarians Network. You can find On the Run with Remso W. Martinez on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. You know how the internet works. Come on down and let's discover how to achieve real freedom in your life together.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to give a big shout out to the very first sponsor of the Break the Bell podcast. That is Goulash Media. They can be found at goulashmedia.net. Goulash Media specializes in graphic design, web design, audio recordings, video work, wedding videos, music videos, even political campaign videos. Goulash Media caters to the little guy with the big vision. You can check them out at goulashmedia.net. That's GOULASH media.net. We're back.
Yeah. Did you get everything you needed?
I got coffee. That's what I needed.
Well, then we're good.
Derek says that he would vote for RFK Jr. only if he plagiarizes the "We Must Go to the Moon" speech. I'm all about that. I mean, we faked the moon landing for the first Kennedy president. Might as well fake it for the second Kennedy
No, he would get Mars, I bet. They would have to up the game a little bit.
Maybe he plagiarizes the speech but switches out the word Mars.
Mars for moon. There we go.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not going to try my Kennedy impersonation.
Could you do it in his voice, though?
We must go to Mars. that good?
That works. That works.
It's gonna be too easy. This is like too easy for like SNL,
right?
Or people to like impersonate him as president.
Biden's easy, and they barely do it.
I know. Well, I think they feel like
too easy, low-hanging fruit.
Well, I feel like it's like borderline, like it's pointing out the obvious that they don't want pointed out. Like if,
but they did it with Bush.
Well, first of all they'd have to do is read Joe Biden's speech,
not change
and that would
Jack.
be enough. Yeah. But no, they like before it was comical relief to point out the blatant discrepancies, I guess we'll call them, of a president, the blatant stupidity of a president. Now if you do, it's just like, oh, you can't do that, he's old.
Right.
You can't say that he's got dementia. It's like, well, we've been saying that about all the presidents for eternity. We've been making fun of their demeanor, their isms.
Yes.
Like there's not too many like mainstream comedy shows that are willing to make fun of the isms of Biden.
Yeah.
Because they know it's just going to point out the obvious, and people are like, maybe he shouldn't be president.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe this guy needs help.
Yeah, there's like a blacklist of the things they're supposed they can say, and
that's probably true.
It's possibly maybe the first time in like television history that you couldn't just blatantly make fun of a sitting president.
See, and that should be a standard. If you're going to be president, you got to be willing to be made fun of. Right?
Yeah, people have to be able to make fun of you without being accused of ageism.
Yes, exactly.
Oh God. So, where are we sitting? We propped him up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're talking about RFK Jr. If you're new, if you
we gave the pros, we made him look good. Now it's time to throw some shade.
I guess. Let's see what we can get into here. I've got this article because this briefly talks about the Anne Frank stuff too, but it talks about some of the other issues with him, which I'm not even going to say are cons.
Yeah.
This is some of the stuff they're still worried about. Oh man, we are freezing. It's always when we come back from break we start to freeze up. We are here. Wow, what a buzzkill.
Yeah.
Joseph says, you're back loud and clear. We are back, and we are loud, and we are clear. Let me see if I can share the screen. RFK Jr. slammed for invoking Anne Frank at anti-vax mandate rally. Like I was saying, this one has a little more than just the anti-vax stuff that I wanted to hit on.
Yeah. And this is the Post, who tends to... Aren't they the ones that tend to lean a little bit more...
More to the right.
Yeah.
Like I'm told. RFK Jr. said it was easier for Anne Frank to hide from Nazis than it is for Americans to escape vaccine mandates during a rally at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. We're froze up again, just trying to load this. Maybe we won't read this one. Because it talks about, he said, even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You could hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. He says, today the mechanisms are being put in place to make it so that none of us can run and none of us can hide. He said, according to video of the speech tweeted by NBC reporter Ben Collins. Goes on to say, they're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Wow, we've talked about all this stuff. The comments were rebuked by the Auschwitz Memorial.
What does that mean?
The memorial rebuked.
They're like, no.
No, you're wrong.
It's nothing like that.
The comments were rebuked by the Auschwitz Memorial. They tweeted saying, the museum tweeted saying, exploiting of the tragedy of people who suffered, were humiliated, tortured, and murdered by the totalitarian regime of Nazi Germany, including children like Anne Frank, in a debate about vaccines and limitations during global pandemic is a sad symptom of moral and intellectual decay.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
So,
obviously,
I mean, nobody is able to ever reference the Holocaust in any kind of situation. Is that the way it works?
No, we're not supposed to talk about the Jews. We're not supposed to talk about the Holocaust. We're not supposed to, like before it was, you're not supposed to deny the Holocaust. Now you're not allowed to.
But you can't compare anything to
the Holocaust,
right? Be like, oh wow, well,
even though everything is referenced compared to Nazis,
right?
But we can't compare anything to the Holocaust.
You can't. Oh, 1 million Africans just died. It's kind of like the Holocaust. No, it's not. It's nothing like that. Don't say that.
Nothing like the Holocaust whatsoever. So I guess that's not really the cons of him. I think it's great that he said that.
Yeah.
So this is one of the lows. This is one of the lows I had seen because we talked about him being an environmentalist.
Yeah.
And we'll get into how he hates the WEF, though.
Okay.
But
not a con.
Before you get like all romanticized about him, there was a comment he had made, and maybe this is I feel like this might be taken out of context slightly, but he basically said climate change deniers should be thrown in jail.
Okay,
back
that's
in like
a big
2014. One. That is pretty big.
That is a big one.
He says, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., son of U.S. Senator RFK and nephew of former blah, 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 all the things we already know, has recently made headlines for announcing 2024 presidential run as a Democrat. According to his campaign website, RFK Jr. says he wants honest government, saying that the government system has been thoroughly bought and paid for by corporations, lobbyists, and stakeholders. Okay, that's true. I can track with that. He promised to remake public institutions to serve the public. All right. We will roll back the secrecy and make government transparent. We will protect whistleblowers and prosecute officials who abuse the public trust. We will rein in the lobbyists and slam shut the revolving door that shunts people from government agencies to lucrative positions in companies that we're supposed to regulate. And back again. We will get money out of politics. We will open our institution to real citizen involvement. We will restore integrity to government. Tracking
that
so
sounds
far?
good.
Yeah. He also claims he wants to end the divide between the parties, saying, my aim is to convince every Democrat that you're not a Democrat and every Republican that you're not a Republican. Again, that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. He wants to reform things like environmental policy, promoting the transition to regenerative farming, which I'm okay with regenerative farming. Like the farming we do now through like Monsanto, where like the seeds don't reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking terrible for the environment.
Yeah.
You're raping the ground of its nutrients. You're spraying the man-made nutrients back into the ground to make a better crop, I guess.
Right.
But then they're GMOing it so they don't reproduce on their own. You have to buy their seeds to plant more.
Right.
So regenerative farming, I am all on board with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incentive for the transition of industry to zero waste cycles and clean energy sources, and stymie any more oil drilling, logging, mining, and suburban sprawls while becoming a global advocate for rainforest preservation and marine restoration. Now, some of those things I don't necessarily agree with. Like,
no.
I mean, maybe slowing down oil drilling, maybe.
Well, but and here's always been my thing. I have no issue finding alternatives if it's done in an intelligent way.
If you find a viable alternative.
Instead of just cutting it all off and being like, well, this kind of works, so go with that.
Yeah, let's go with the wind power.
Yeah, we'll put sails on the cars and
Junior, they call him Junior instead.
Nice. I'm sure that's. Yeah.
Junior proposes economic reforms that promote small and medium businesses and busting up monopolies that are too big to fail while trying to restore strength in the U.S. dollar. All the things that we've talked about so far. He also says he wants to restore civil liberties and realign with the Constitution and Bill of Rights while ending big tech censorship and shadow banning and ending mass surveillance. He will also seek protections for the poor and minorities. Also, Junior wants to reform and transform the police, not defund them. So this is the part right here.
Okay.
Because of RFK Jr.'s announcement, more Americans have begun to do some extra digging into his beliefs and prior endorsements. In September 2014, he participated in a large protest of around 100,000 participants in New York City for the People's Climate March, and when Climate Depot director Mark Morano asked Kennedy a set of questions, RFK said he believes climate change deniers should be put in jail. That's what the claim is.
Yeah.
When asked about Charles and David Koch, the Koch brothers.
Yes.
So, they say up here, asked a set of questions. he says he believes climate change deniers should be put in jail. That's pretty damning right there.
That is.
Then it goes on to elaborate. When asked about the Koch brothers, who probably should be in jail.
And I believe he did have a court case that went against the Koch brothers
Probably.
at one time.
When asked about Charles and David Koch, the Koch brothers, as they are often referred to as, that's because they are the Koch brothers, who are a pair of wealthy billionaire conservative industrialists, Kennedy bitterly said this: "Do I think the Koch brothers are treasonous? Yes, I do. They enjoy making themselves billionaires by impoverishing the rest of us. Do I think they should be in jail? I think they should be enjoying 3 hots and a cot at the Hague with all the other war criminals who are there. What about politicians who deny climate change?" RFK Jr. says, "They're selling out to public trust, and I think those guys who are doing the Koch brothers' bidding and who are against all the evidence of rational mind are saying that global warming doesn't exist and are contemptible human beings, and, I wish that there was a law you could punish them under." Okay, so that's not as cut and dry as climate change deniers should be put in jail.
Right.
That's saying the politicians who are in bed with the Koch brothers, who he was probably against at the time, that are doing probably despicable things just to make a buck, those people should be put in jail.
Right.
Do I believe all the things that he believes about climate change? Probably not.
Yeah. No.
Do I think climate change deniers should be thrown in jail? Probably not.
No.
Do I think there's a lot of corporatists up there that might even be on my side politically, should be in jail? Most likely all of them should be in jail for something or another. I don't know what the point of this article is, besides, because I saw some that were like, whoa, before you conservatives all jump on the RFK Jr. plan, you got to remember he's an environmentalist.
Right.
And people are like, well, but it's the environment. But he said climate change deniers should be thrown in jail. So it's like, let's put this article out there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
let's refresh your memory that he's not on your side.
I don't know my opinions of the statement.
Yeah.
I think it's probably one of the worst things that he said.
Yeah. Right.
Even just being like, oh, a politician that intentionally goes against this should be thrown. I don't necessarily think they should be thrown in jail. Maybe kick them out of office.
Right.
Maybe they shouldn't hold their job, but I don't support throwing anybody in jail for stupid bullshit for being a dumbass.
Right.
Because we'd all be in jail if we were
That's true.
going to be in jail for being a dumbass. And I think this is a very small thing that's being blown up to.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the level on par with the climate change thing. It's like, well, we can get the Democrats to hate him by saying, oh, he's an anti-vaxxer.
Right.
And we could get the Republicans to hate him by saying, oh, he wants to lock up climate change deniers.
Right.
And you're all climate change deniers. He wants to lock you all up. And reading that statement doesn't sound like that's exactly what he was going for there. It says RFK Jr. has made a living as an environmental attorney and activist. Most notably, he is the president of liberal environmental group Waterkeeper Alliance. According to Waterkeeper's website, they have over 200 affiliate local groups across the country, including at least 7 in Alabama. I don't know why that matters.
Yeah, I know, right?
Among those groups is Black Warrior Riverkeeper, whose executive director, Nelson Brook, has been one of the foremost anti-economic growth environmental activists in the state in recent years. Most recently, Brook led a group of environmental organizers in a lawsuit to block the northern Beltline. Once completed, the Beltline will be a 52-mile highway running from Interstate 59 to in northeast Jefferson County to Interstate 459 on this other road.
Yeah.
It says the U.S. District Court judge ultimately ruled against the environmental groups, finding the requests to be useless and redundant. Yellowhammer reached out to Brook today for his thoughts, but was only able to speak with another individual at Black Warrior Riverkeeper who did not disclose her name. Waterkeeper Alliance functions as an umbrella organization, basically a trade association for us and other local groups. They connect together to share resources. I don't know. They're just basically connecting them to some liberal environmentalist group.
And it sounds like they're singling out Alabama, a notoriously Republican, i.e. hick state, to say, hey, look,
Well, I wonder if this is based in Alabama because they bring up Alabama a lot. Because it says, unfortunately, the war on coal hit home in Alabama in August as Alabama's power announced that federal environmental mandates forced them to close 2 of the state's coal fires. So it's Alabama against RFK Jr.
Gotcha. Okay.
So although RFK Jr.'s comments in the climate change protest took place in another part of the country, they undoubtedly have direct impact on the Yellowhammer State as well. Furthermore, in recent times, RFK Jr. attributed the devastating brush fires in Australia to climate change, as well as with fires in California. He also said, what the world is facing will ultimately lead to disappearance of the ice caps and glaciers on every continent on top of major disruptions that will plague society. So they're really hitting home that he is against... He's a climate change activist.
Right, yeah.
Which is obviously against Republicans because they can't have their coal.
Right. Got to have your fracking and your coal and your oil drilling.
Says RFK Jr. noted that he and his family have very strong relationships with most of the candidates of the... Okay, so it says, when asked about endorsements, he said he particularly liked Tulsi Gabbard's foreign policy stance and aligns most with her. Gabbard, a World Economic Forum young global leader, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either.
Converted to nonpartisanship earlier this year, but landed a job at Fox News, and even filled in for Tucker Carlson on occasion. RFK Jr. noted that he and his family have very strong relationships with most of the candidates. He added that his children were working with former South Bend, Indiana mayor and WEF Young Global leader Pete Buttigieg, who is now the current transportation secretary, and Jr.'s cousin Joe worked with Elizabeth Warren. Furthermore, he said, there are a number of other members of my family who are working for Joe Biden. Now, I guess one of the things that I have against him, it's not the statement that he wants to lock up climate change deniers. Yes, I think he probably has some skewed opinions on... I mean, he's an environmentalist, though.
Right.
Like, he's an environmentalist, not like... hey, let's make a buck off this. Like, he seems like he truly...
Right, he's truly
he
in the bag.
He raises falcons.
Right.
Like, that's one of his hobbies is he raises falcons. Like, he actually truly likes the environment, not these WEF types. Yes, I started to say, my one thing I have against him is his connections and his endorsements. Like, he seems to have a bad track record of endorsements.
Right.
Like, on one hand.
Yeah.
Well, he endorsed... He endorsed, or I guess his cousin worked for Elizabeth Warren, which means nothing.
Yeah, right.
He said he commented on AOC's Green New Deal, saying that we ought to be pursuing that, though he still has his own approach. Now, I think he's changed a lot since this article came out because a lot of what I've read says that he's like totally against like the WEF and the climate change hoax to control population pretty much. Like he thinks that he's come out and said that a lot of them are just puppets for like billionaires to basically strip us of a lot of our freedoms and stuff.
Right. Okay.
And so like you have people on both sides saying two different things. Yes, they're making a lot of connections to WEF people just because he happens to endorse this one person who happens to be a WEF candidate.
Okay, but again, he's a Kennedy, right? His family goes deep. Right, he's considered a political royalty, like you said. He's going to have connections everywhere.
Right.
You know,
I think the biggest thing I hold against this guy currently, as it sits, is that he multiple times endorsed Hillary Clinton.
That's a big one.
First, he endorsed her in 2000 for New York Senate.
Ugh.
After she killed off his cousin... the opposition for that spot.
Yes.
Not saying that happened, but that definitely happened.
That definitely
is what happened.
Because there's no way she could have beat JFK Jr.
Yeah, how does he go on, like, after Hillary Clinton clearly murders JFK Jr., talk about peddling conspiracy theories. We're going to make RFK Jr. look good after tonight.
Yeah,
after she very blatantly rigged his plane to crash into the ocean, how does one go on to be like, you know, she is my new... Maybe she threatened him next.
Or
you think about that?
Oh yeah, that's possible.
You saw what I did to your
Yeah,
cousin. Imagine
right.
what I can do to you.
It could be your uncle and your dad all over again.
Interesting. But yeah, he endorsed her for New York Senate. He basically said that she would be great for the environment. Not sure how, but that's what he said. Then in 2016, he endorsed her again for president against Donald Trump. Said, erstwhile Earth protector, I don't know what erstwhile means, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has endorsed Senator Hillary Clinton for president.
Kind of like constant.
Oh. Effused Kennedy, they really like their adjectives in this. Effused Kennedy. Oh, no, that's said Kennedy pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Hillary Clinton has strength and experience to reverse the potential devastating effects of global warming. What experience did Hillary Clinton have of reversing the effects of global warming? Yes. What did she do to, I mean,
yeah.
Maybe killed off a few bodies that were sucking up some of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, that helped reverse some of the effects of global warming.
Yeah. That's about it.
Says Hillary Clinton has the strength and experience to reverse the potentially devastating effects of global warming. Then it goes on to say, with her bare hands.
Did he say that?
No, they added that afterwards. That's really all this article says, is that he supported her and said she, with her bare hands, can reverse the effects of global warming. With her bare hands as she chokes the life out of the atmosphere-sucking peasants.
Single-handedly puts the poles back together.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that damning enough that he supported Hillary Clinton, who killed off his cousin?
No, because again, look at everybody that Trump supported, you know, and so you would have to.
I mean, on the flip side, if you want to play devil's advocate, like you base a lot of candidates not off of what they say, but off their voting record.
Right.
So, like, if it's like Joe Biden and he comes out and he says, I've always been for all the black people, and it's just like, but what about the crime bill? What about this bill you voted for? What about that? But you've never, you say you're pro-LGBTQ. What about the time you voted, you know? Like, like, you look at their voting record.
Right.
When it's a guy that doesn't have a voting record because he's never held a public office, you kind of got to look at the people he's endorsed in the past.
Absolutely.
And then look at their voting record.
Right.
And then you can kind of get an idea what their ideals are. So if you can't look at their voting record, all you have to go off of is the people his endorsements he's made. And when he's making shitty judgment calls like endorsing John Kerry, Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, it kind of opens your eye to, like, maybe he's not not the glimmering image of hope
it makes you think that he's following along the company line,
right
so it's like
the old school company line.
Yes, right, yeah,
like he might not be leaning towards like the AOCs and the squad and those lines. I think he supported Bernie back initially too.
He probably did. Because I think I think in an interview he says that he's close with Bernie.
Yeah.
And of course he came up and said, I did vote for Biden. Mm-hmm. So I mean, again, he's Democrat through and through. I mean, so his voting record is going to show that all the way through. So
I mean, does what he's saying now negate all the shitty endorsements he's made in the past? Because I feel like if we can't say that the things Joe Biden is saying now don't make up for 50 years of shitty policies, we can't say that what RFK Jr. is saying now totally washes clean his track record of endorsing shitty candidates.
I need to see more. I need to see more before I can say, because I need to see if he's because when you watch Biden, or if you watched Obama, or they contradict themselves in different ways, right? They're not consistent, and so I would need to see with this guy if he can be consistent through.
Now
and
it
through.
seemed like a lot of times he's voting for those candidates because of their policy, or at least their statements on environmentally friendly
and that's
policies.
why he said he voted for John Kerry.
But then he goes to say to bash on like the Bill Gates and the WEF and all these. It's like you're you were voting for those people that were the puppets that you are
because
talking against.
Clinton is straight up WEF.
Oh yeah.
So
and they were on that globalist track, and this is supposedly what he's against. Is he's anti-war, he's anti the global like corporate merger between corporations and government, and that's all
everything Clinton stands for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think he was mostly endorsing with his environmental head, but I don't know. Maybe that's given him the benefit of a doubt. I want to look into him a lot more than I have.
Right.
But it's because you're like, oh, I got to see more. So does that mean you want to see more before he should run for office? Like maybe he should run for something else politically before he goes straight to the top?
I mean, let's be honest. With his age, he probably doesn't have that option.
No, he's what, 70, 72, maybe?
I think he's like 64.
No, he's older than that.
You think so?
Oh yeah. Let me look.
I think he was born in like 54.
RFK Jr. is currently 69.
69. Okay.
69. So
which is what
right
Trump was and Hillary was when they ran.
Yeah. So he's right. He's right about there.
Yeah.
He's not quite Biden age, but he's not quite like John Kennedy age.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, he's got a few years on him.
I mean, I doubt we'll see him be able to debate Biden.
Do you want to, before we get out of here, look inside the scandal-ridden life of this POTUS hopeful?
Fuck yeah.
And his lust and demons,
wow.
as this article says.
And demons?
Yes. I mean,
Let's do it.
We did the good, we did the kind of track record,
right.
Because, I mean, he doesn't have much of a track record.
No, like you said, you got to look. I mean, if you look at his legal cases, it's all about fighting the corporations.
And I'm fine with that, too.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that.
Because most of the environmentalists these days are the corporations.
Right. Yeah,
so,
there wasn't one in there where I saw like, oh, he screwed over the town of Joville,
yeah,
and
right.
caused cancer across the, whatever.
It's usually the opposite.
Right.
Who are RFK Jr.'s wives? The MILFs. Inside the scandal-ridden life of POTUS hopeful and his lust demons.
Lust demons.
It sounds like some boomer wrote it like 10
right.
years ago. Massachusetts, Boston. Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., who is 69, the nephew of President JFK, blah, 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 all the stuff we already know.
Is that going to be his lead-in every time?
Yes. And anti-vaxxer. Yes. This anti-vax activist has a lengthy track record of struggling with drug addiction and engaging in womanizing behavior.
He's a Kennedy.
He's a politician.
Right.
Which one of them didn't engage in womanizing behavior besides maybe Barack Obama?
Right.
And drug addiction, but Barack Obama only sucked. He didn't inhale.
Right.
He did a lot of sucking, but no inhaling.
Well, he's married to Michelle,
yeah.
So
that's where the joke was headed.
Yes.
Apparently, one of his three wives died by suicide, and his powerful family, as per report, is unlikely to support him. That's interesting to me, too. It's like his whole family, even his wife's like, you're kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, we don't support what you're saying. Even his associates describe Robert as having too much baggage to make the run, saying he is a long shot to make it to the White House and ever win an election. All right, can we look at Bill Clinton? Baggage.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Murders. Can we look at freaking George Bush was a cokehead?
Yeah.
I mean,
look at Donald Trump.
Donald Trump baggage. Like his whole 4 years was digging up baggage on him.
Yeah.
So you can't say just because of some baggage that this guy doesn't have a shot.
Joe Biden comes with Hunter.
RFK's dark side of drug abuse and being a womanizer. Biographer Jerry Oppenheimer penned RFK Jr.'s and the dark side of the dream, describing the troubling past of the environmental activist. It further claims that in the run-up for office, he will try to hide his history from voters, given the history of compulsions and addiction. Kennedy registered to run for office April 5th and set up a website to solicit contributions and volunteers. He made the official announcement in Boston Wednesday, standing alongside his actress wife, Cheryl Hines. Bobby Kennedy is a long shot at ever winning any election, let alone the presidency, one insider told the Daily Mail, before adding, his own powerful family are unlikely to support his campaign. They told the outlet, adding, many members won't even vote for him. So he started out being disobedient, Robert Kennedy, and battled with drug abuse, which began when he was 14.
Okay, well, his dad got killed.
That's what it starts out. The assassination of his father, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, in 1968 caused chaos in Kennedy's early years as the third of 11 children. His mother, Ethel Roberts, was devastated and left Kennedy abandoned. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The Oppenheimer book claims Robert Kennedy Jr.'s battle with drug abuse began when he was 14, and he was a disobedient adolescent who experimented with alcohol, marijuana, and LSD.
So he's a fucking teenager.
Yes, with LSD. Back when you could readily, LSD was readily available
Using Kool-Aid.
via the CIA.
Right.
Kennedy had been involved in cocaine. I didn't know you could be involved in cocaine and heroin use by the time he wed Emily Black, his first wife, in 1982. He had a difficult time practicing law and was arrested for heroin possession when he was 30. So he's got a drug rap.
Okay.
Friends claim Kennedy pushed his brother David to consume a hazardous psychedelic at the large Hickory Hill house in McLean, Virginia, where his drug issue flared. Man, this is such so boomer written.
Yeah, right.
He pushed his brother to consume a hazardous psychedelic. Now, this is interesting. Out of this entire article, this line here captures my interest the most.
Okay.
His brother, while high on LSD, or the hazardous psychedelic, whether that be LSD, probably right. LSD, forewarned Kennedy, saying, "You're dying just like Daddy."
Damn.
Now, I don't know about your opinions of LSD are, but I have heard that they give people certain enlightenment on certain trips, and it's just like, did
Holy
this guy
fuck.
just predict the future?
Yeah, right. Wouldn't that be some shit?
However, it was David who died at 28 from a drug overdose. But still, that doesn't mean that RFK Jr. is not going to get killed like Daddy.
Yeah.
That's cryptic to me, and I would
Yes.
never forget that as long as I lived, and I would be
shit.
like, I am never running for office ever.
Yeah.
Never, ever, ever, ever.
Wow.
The Kennedy's alleged desire to get stoned. God. It's like written in the 80s. It's got to be. Led him to take unknown pills for shock value. Under Lem Billings' care, a New York advertising agency executive who idolized JFK to the extent that he was said to have been in love with him and reportedly felt the same about Bobby. The duo would then get high together. Bobby became the leader of a gang.
A gang?
A gang. Hyannisport Terrors, and ordered a gang member to fake their death, shouting, "You've killed a Kennedy," when a passing car hit them. Bobby was a leader of the Hyannisport Terrors.
When he was 30?
I don't know. They got high?
No, that can't be, because that was 84. He was thick in his law business then.
I don't fucking know, but he was. Well, it says while he was like under a New York advertising agency executive. I don't know, but I need to look into this gang because this sounds pretty badass.
Yeah, right.
I mean, how many gang lords do you know that have successfully ran for president? I mean, this sounds legit.
Right.
It sounds like this Hyannisport Terrors sounds like the total Irish mob,
right?
Like total like I don't know, wannabe Irish mob.
Right. Yeah.
What was that gang member? The guy that was online that like had that online gang that we talked about.
Yeah. The guy that did the secrets.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it.
And he was the OG.
Yes. You think Bobby Kennedy was
the OG?
The OG.
Absolutely.
Emily Ruth Black, his finest, knew Bobby was womanizing. At the age of 29, Robert married Emily Ruth Black in April of 82. Until then, he had hit the rock bottom, and just 17 months into their marriage, he was seeking help for his addiction. Despite the fat wedding, the couple ended in divorce in 94, 2 years after they split. They shared 2 children, Robert Francis, Bobby Kennedy III, and daughter Kathleen, or Kick Kennedy, both under 10 when they split. It was announced the same time when he failed the New York bar, or it was about around the same time he failed the New York bar exam and shouted at an airline for help while intoxicated. He would later write and attribute his drug problem to his family's history of alcoholism and the trauma of his father and uncle's murder. No shit. Despite being able to function while using, he would always return to drugs. He was known among his friends as a binger and would go on and off various substances. He faced legal consequences for heroin possession and was required to do community service and stay within New York State. His first marriage, as per, ended due to his infidelity. The report noted, Bobby was womanizing and Emily knew what was going on. It gets worse.
Oh, okay.
It gets so much worse. His second wife alleges that he wanted a threesome. And then denied it, apparently.
Oh,
Or
okay.
she denied the threesome.
So that means he's the devil incarnate?
Soon after split from Emily, Robert married Mary Richardson, an architectural designer. Robert had taken up with her as she was her sister's, his sister, I'm guessing, close friend, because it says her sister's close friend.
Oh, okay.
And proposed to her on a trip to Ireland. And as he was finalizing his divorce with Emily, his wife for 11 years. When Robert was home, Mary was already 6 months pregnant. Robert and Mary wed on a boat in the Hudson River on April 15, 1994. They announced their split after nearly 16 years of marriage in 2010. The relationship would also be turbulent because Robert's womanizing. Again. Bobby reportedly told a friend he wanted to bring another woman into the bedroom for a threesome, but Mary strongly refused, making him angry. Mary later confessed this to an acquaintance. In the garage of the Kennedys' residence in Mount Kisco, New York, Mary Richardson Kennedy hanged herself Tuesday, May 16, 2012. She allegedly confessed to a friend that she feared for her life and that Bobby Kennedy repeatedly advised her she would be better off dead and that it would be so much better if she committed suicide. And so she did. So that's the darkest part of his existence, I think, is this suicide of his ex-wife who he left her, he took the kids, she ended up becoming an alcoholic and at the end of the day hanged herself.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that I can't find any conspiracies surrounding this, but we know the Kennedys probably aren't strangers to making problems go away.
Right.
Like, case in point, Marilyn Monroe. There's plenty of conspiracy theories about Marilyn Monroe being kind of a problem that they made go away.
Right.
Whether it through getting her hooked on drugs or just offing her somehow, your flag just fell on your head.
Again.
So I don't know. I the conspiracy theorist in me wants to.
I know that was the first when I read that I was like, there's got to
be something here,
yeah.
but you can't find any of it. You can't, but there has to be because he's a Kennedy, and she suicided, and so I don't know.
Circumstances.
I don't know. It wouldn't be hard for the Kennedy family to make that problem go away.
Yeah.
Derek says she didn't off herself. She got Clintoned or Kennedy'd, I guess.
Kennedy'd. Actually, I think Kennedy is getting assassinated.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What did you have any darker thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, my mind went there the same place yours went. Is that I mean, she didn't off herself, that he had someone do it.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Bobby had once documented a number of claimed sexual consequences during just 1 year of his marriage to Mary Richardson in a personal diary that was leaked to the New York Post. He labeled that weakness in his personality his lust demons. So the guy, I mean, he's a Kennedy. He's had affairs. And it doesn't even note any of the affairs. It just talks about he wanted a threesome.
Right. Yeah.
And he did drugs.
Right. Yeah.
And he was a womanizer.
Yeah.
If this is a hit piece, it's a really bad hit
right,
piece.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's very boomerized.
It is, and this is something that you would write about Bill Clinton back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I mean,
yeah.
Bill Clinton has way more to write about, but I'm just saying, like, that would be like back in that era. It's just like, oh, he got a blowjob once. It's like,
okay,
all right,
yeah,
he had an affair. It's like,
okay,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
All right, then. This is 2023. We know politicians have affairs and get blowjobs.
Yeah.
I mean,
men with money have affairs.
Yes,
right.
It's I don't like.
Yeah.
If this is the darkest it gets for a Kennedy,
right?
I mean, he looks like a pretty bang up guy to me. He
right.
looks like a pretty like grade A citizen for running for political office.
Yeah.
He's got some baggage. He's got none of that sounds like too much baggage that's going to keep you from successfully running for president.
And nothing.
Look at Donald Trump, like you said.
Right. And nothing he really has to worry about hiding, right? I mean, and I guess I would be curious, if anybody actually did real journalism and asked him about it, what he would say.
Right. Probably they probably won't, but
no, they won't.
Now this paragraph is great too. So speaking of dirt, is Cheryl Hines a likely first lady? Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Bobby wed Cheryl, a former Curb Your Enthusiasm actress who is now 57, on August 2nd, 2014, in Hyannisport, where his gang was.
Oh, damn.
Where his gang was. There's something there.
Yeah, I think he still runs that place.
6 months after Mary died by suicide. Now that's kind of, well, he was already divorced when she died by suicide.
They'd been separated a couple years.
As previously reported, she worked as a waitress, a telephone operator, and a TV reporter. She also worked as a personal assistant to actor Rob Reiner. Well, that's enough for me to hate her.
I was going to say, that's the biggest red flag right
there.
Yeah,
that does it for me. I fucking hate Rob Reiner. Not because of anything in Hollywood, but because of his Twitter account.
Yes.
Before she got her break. Talking about it, she told this website in April, growing up, I didn't want to be a girl with no money because I wanted to be a sophisticated girl that grew up in Manhattan. But that's not who I am. I am a person who grew up in Central Florida that didn't have anything, and that's what makes me interesting. You don't sound very interesting. No. That's all they say about her. And is she a likely first lady? That's
based on that?
Based on that.
Okay.
This whole thing is like very stretching. It's like his lust demons and womanizing and drug abuse. He did the marijuanas and even experimented with LSD that the CIA probably gave to him. Enough to not qualify.
Like you said, he's a fucking politician, right? I mean, you show me somebody who hasn't done all that stuff.
Teddy Kennedy literally killed a woman, and he remained in office until his death, basically.
Yeah. I mean, his dad and his uncle are well known for their philandering.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they probably had a threesome with Marilyn Monroe.
Right?
Like,
yeah, right.
What's her name? Jackie knew.
Yeah,
Jackie knew all that shit, but...
Fucking Ethel knew, too.
Okay, if this was back in JFK, RFK days, this article, would just be like...
Oh, yeah, it'd be shocking.
You'd be done. You'd have... There's no chance in hell you're going to make it. But 2023, it's like, this guy 30 years ago did drugs.
Yeah.
He was a heroin addict.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of those out there.
Right. Yeah.
He was a womanizer. Again, lots of those.
Right.
He has a couple wives.
Yeah. All of them MILFs.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like the middle of the lane Democrat version, less loud and obnoxious Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what they're trying to paint him out to be.
I think so
to
too.
Scare people off.
They pin him as an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
So which makes him anti-science, which puts him right on par with Donald Trump. They pin him as a womanizer, which puts him right on par as Donald Trump.
Yep.
So I don't know.
He's got a drug problem, and he said something really bad about, not really bad, but he compared something to the Holocaust.
Yes.
So,
you can't talk shit about the Holocaust. Now, I said I would get here, and we're here. This next little section before we get out of here is 100%, is most likely enough to win my endorsement, is the fact that RFK Jr. says that the CIA killed JFK and that Sirhan Sirhan, is
Yes,
that how you pronounce
Sirhan.
it? Didn't kill his father.
Yes.
Those two enough are for me.
I thought that would get you excited.
If he come out and he's like, "Yo, look, I'm gonna blow the lid off of this case between JFK and RFK," I'd be like, "I'm gonna fucking vote for you because I just want to see that happen."
right.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
This is from Heavy.com. It says RFK Jr. says the CIA murdered JFK. He accused the CIA of murdering his uncle, JFK, in a tweet December 16th of last year. He called the JFK assassination a successful coup d'etat. The most courageous newscast in 60 years, the CIA's murder of my uncle was a successful coup d'etat from which our democracy, not our democracy. So his typo there is almost enough for me to not vote for him.
It might be the LSD.
From which our democracy has never recovered, RFK Jr. wrote, sharing a broadcast by Fox News host Tucker Carlson. And that would be enough for them not to endorse him because he retweeted Tucker Carlson.
Right.
And then, regarding his uncle, apparently he's on this push. Like, it was kind of split when Sirhan, if that's how you pronounce it, was up for parole.
Right.
Like, his family was kind of split whether he should stay or go. And he didn't come out and say one way or another, but at the time he was kind of digging into it. And he even went in and had a conversation with him.
Right.
And when he came out, he's like, "No, I don't think he did this."
Yeah.
Because it says just before Christmas, RFK Jr. pulled up to the massive Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, a California state prison complex in the desert outside San Diego. Kennedy was there to visit Sirhan B. Sirhan. I wonder what his middle name is. The man convicted of killing his father, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, nearly 50 years ago. While his wife, Cheryl Hines, waited in the car, Kennedy met with Sirhan for 3 hours, he revealed to the Washington Post last week. It was a culmination of months of research by Kennedy into the assassination, including speaking with witnesses and reading autopsy and police reports. "I got to a place where I had to see Sirhan," Kennedy said. He would not discuss specifics of the conversation, but when it was over, Kennedy had joined those who believed there was a second gunman and that it was not Sirhan who killed his father. "I was there because I was curious and disturbed by what I had seen in the evidence. I was disturbed that the wrong person might be convicted of killing my father. My father was chief law enforcement in the country. I think he would be disturbed if somebody was put in jail for a crime they didn't commit." Says Kennedy doesn't know if his involvement in the case will change anything, but he now supports the call for a reinvestigation of the assassination, which is led by Paul Schrade, who was also shot in the head as he walked behind Kennedy in the pantry of the Ambassador Hotel in L.A., but survived. So Paul Schrade apparently is headed in this push for a new investigation, and that could be interesting because he should know if he remembers anything.
Right.
Let's see. His sister, Kathleen Kennedy, is now expressing doubts too. "Bobby makes a compelling case. I think the investigation should be reopened." RFK Jr. was 14 when he lost his father. Even now, people tell him how much Bobby Kennedy meant to them. 5 years after his brother JFK was gunned down in Dallas, and 2 months after civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in Memphis, devastated a country already beset by chaos. This is talking about when he got shot. It says, though Sirhan admitted at his trial in '69 he shot Kennedy, he claimed from the start he had no memory of doing so. And midway through his trial, prosecutors provided his lawyers with an autopsy report that launched 5 decades of controversy. Kennedy was shot at point-blank range from behind, including a fatal shot behind his ear. But Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian immigrant, was standing in front of him. Was there a second gunman? The debate rages to this day. Well, if the autopsy shows that he was shot from behind, and Sirhan was clearly right in front of him, the debate doesn't rage on.
Yeah, it's settled. Just
it's
nobody
pretty
wants
settled.
to talk about it.
Yeah, it's just they're like, no,
Yeah.
no, that's wrong. And it's like, but no, he shot him. But you realize I realize he was in front of him. I realize the bullet came from behind him, but he shot him.
Right. Yeah.
it doesn't take months of research that he says he did into this to say,
yeah,
we should relook
Something
at this.
Doesn't add up.
And if he got into the office, even if JFK's got left floating because of national security or whatever, if he's just like, look, my father, this is like retribution for my father. This is, I'm going to reopen this case. That's the only reason. I will finish this case, and then I will resign my position as president. I don't care. I just want this resolved. That would be enough for me. Even if he said, we're going to pull all the military home, we're going to cut off all the funding to everything, and this whole country is going to go to shit, but I'm going to exhaust all the money and resources towards my father's murder. Fine, do it.
Right.
Fantastic, do it. I'm all on board with it, because then there'd be less federal government anyway, which is what I want in the first place. I just want them all to shut down anyway, and a conspiracy theory gets the spotlight that it deserves. But he will get assassinated before that, obviously.
Probably.
Because his brother predicted it while he was high on a dangerous psychedelic.
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, we don't have a lot to view on his downside.
Right, yeah.
We have a little bit to look at on why this potentially could be better, I guess. But then, again, the bar is so goddamn low.
Yes.
That, I mean, what else you got?
Right.
Joe
You're
Biden?
right. Yeah. You got Joe
Donald
Biden.
Trump? DeSantis?
Right.
Hasn't really proved to be much.
No. Marianne Williamson.
I don't even know what that is, so I don't fucking care.
When I heard the name, I thought it was the mom from Happy Days.
It's not the mom from Happy Days?
Apparently not.
So I don't know. What do you all think? Is this guy a good fit for president? I mean,
I like I said, I'll keep you've opened my eyes up to him. I'm gonna keep an eye on him, but I need more.
I mean, they keep pegging him as kind of the black sheep of the Kennedys, but George W. was the black sheep of the Bushes, and we all know how well that went. This guy is anti-war, which is good for me. He's anti-big corporate mergers with government. Great for me. He's anti-Bill Gates, which is
he says all the right things.
He does.
Like I said, the only thing that again is the big red flag is his voting record.
Yeah, his endorsement record, absolutely.
Right.
So, and his womanizing and his lust demons.
I don't.
You can't forget about his lust demons.
I don't.
Do we
care
really
about
want a
lust
president
demons.
with lust demons?
Yes.
We do want to.
We do.
No,
we
we want the lust demons for president.
Yeah,
we don't,
there we go.
Like,
there
get
we
rid
go.
of him. Just
yes.
Can we just
Keep
have
the lust demons?
Can we just have his lust demons? I mean, that's fine. That's great. I don't know. I feel like he's, like you were saying, he's going to get more of the independent crowd that
I think
they're not even polling. Don't even care to
and
go
that's
to the polls.
And that's the funny part of it is that they think that he's solely going to pull the Democratic vote with what he's saying.
Well, look at the polling, and I keep comparing him to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm RFK Jr., I'm sorry. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. This is the closest thing we got to compare this to because, I mean, outsider in the political sphere, even though he is from a political dynasty.
Yeah. Right.
He's politically outside.
Yeah.
He's definitely outside of his freaking party lines.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we kind of got to go with. And the noise that the media is making, saying how dangerous it is, makes me think this guy might be on to something. But that's also what I thought about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that thought. I mean...
Yeah. I mean,
but
Trump was right there. I mean, he was on the edge. He was so close to doing something great, and he just couldn't do it. Donald
Trump's biggest enemy was Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He got in his own way too many times. His ego got in his way too much.
And as Joseph Rath mentions, this guy's biggest enemy is his fucking voice.
Yes. I don't think he makes it. That voice is rough to listen to, Joseph said. And I said that too. Is this the thing that we can't see past? That fucking raspy ass voice?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it is better that the Democrats don't want to debate because then we won't have to hear RFK Jr.
And maybe that's why they don't want to debate. Like, no, we can't do that voice.
Are the Democrats shooting themselves in the foot by not
think so.
Debate?
How can you not debate? I mean, that just blows my mind.
I mean, look at this is going way back. Like, this will age me. Rudy Giuliani back in 2010s era when he ran.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just going to fucking skip Iowa and I'm going to fucking skip that.
yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need this.
That hurt him.
And then, well, it didn't just hurt him. Like, he was pretty much nothing after that. It was just like he went literally nowhere. It's like, you think you got your shoe in because...
That's because every New Yorker doesn't care about the Midwest. And they feel like, oh, I can just jump around. Nobody cares because they're all the same.
Does RFK Jr. venture to the Midwest?
Oh, fuck. I think so, yeah.
I mean, he's an East Coaster.
Yeah, no, I think he would. So, especially if he truly wants to unite the country where people don't think if they're a D or an R, then yeah, he's going to want to hit the Midwest.
Now, back to what I was saying about freaking Trump. I got derailed.
Sure.
The polls for Trump said Trump was never going to, like Clinton in a landslide.
Right.
And I said the whole time, nah, Trump's going to get this.
Yeah.
And at the polls, and then at the end of the day, everybody's like, shocked. Oh my God, what the hell just happened? What about the polls? The problem is independents don't fucking care about your polls.
Right, yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you took a political poll?
Never.
Never in your fucking life. I've never taken a political poll in my life.
And usually if people ask me, I ignore them. I don't want to take one.
Right. I get the texts pop up. It's like, what do you think about this? It's like, blocked.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think about that. Why are you texting me?
Well, and they blamed a lot of that is what they thought was that people were too afraid to say that they were going to vote for Trump. They didn't want to take.
I just don't fucking. You don't need to know who I'm going to vote for.
Well, I know, but that's what they're saying. That's why the polls were skewed, is what they said during that. And I can see the same thing here. If they're trying to shame you for wanting to vote for Kennedy, people aren't going to tell you, well, I'm going to vote for Kennedy. Right.
So I don't know. I think he makes more waves. Even if he doesn't make it, he makes. I think he's at least enough to pull a lot of support from needed support from Biden.
What if Biden dies? Does he shoot to the top, or does Harris come in?
Harris has no chance in hell.
Oh, I know Harris doesn't have a chance.
They will try to push. No, they'll probably try to reach out and find somebody. Now, here's, I guess, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Here's another maybe thought of what's going on. Is it possible that this guy is kind of controlled opposition, that they're like, we could pull in some of those people by Kennedy type that's saying all these things and pull, he's going to get Trump supporters.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I think if Trump doesn't run, at least he would get Trump supporter, like the anti-vaxxer types. Could he possibly be some sort of controlled opposition to
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, maybe they looked at the the polling data and they're like, we need somebody Trump-esque to kind of pull that vote.
Somebody that's saying just enough crazy stuff, but he's not so hard to rein in like Trump was.
Right. It's possible.
I don't know.
Because think about it. If RFK runs, I mean, he will split that Trump vote.
Yeah, I think he's going to split a lot of votes.
I think so, too.
I think whoever loses is going to blame RFK Jr. I think RFK Jr. honestly should run as an independent.
Yeah.
Because sticking the Democrat course, I think they're going to Bernie Sanders him and screw him over.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't have debates. Especially if the DNC has anything to say about it. If he runs as an independent, I think he's going to pull from both sides.
Yeah. I think
and
so
if
too.
he runs as an independent, more of the people on the fence on the right are going to be like, oh, I'd vote for that guy but now all they're seeing is that D next to his name. They're like, oh, but you guys got to remember he is a Democrat and we all know what Democrats do. And so I don't know. I feel like he could make some progress. Who was the one in the 90s that made that everybody blamed George Bush for losing?
Ross Perot.
Yeah. And he would, whoever lost is going to blame RFK Jr. if he ran independent, because he's going to pull from both sides, and they're going to be like, well, if all you guys didn't vote for that quack, that kook, RFK Jr., Donald Trump or whoever, insert name here, would be president right now.
Yeah.
That's what it would come down to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like you said, he's going to pull from both sides.
Yeah.
So,
as it sits, knowing what you know tonight, Even with the D next to his name, would you vote for RFK Jr.? Knowing who's running right now.
Knowing who's running right now, shit. I don't know if I could.
No?
I'm just, again, the fact that he supported Hillary and you know, again, he's saying the right things, but it's his actions that I'm concerned about. So, I mean, being anti-war, knowing about the corporate, I mean, Hillary is the poster child for the corporate autocracy.
Yeah.
Right? But yet he still supported her. Now, is it possible that his views have evolved in the last couple of years? Absolutely.
Yeah. People don't
and that's why I'm saying
that.
I need to see more to be able to determine that.
No, okay, so here you go. RFK Jr.
Yeah.
Or Joe Exotic for president. Because apparently he's in the running too.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that. Well, definitely Joe Exotic. No. I mean RFK for sure.
I would vote now as it sits probably for RFK because I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
It can't get a whole lot. God, I can't even say that. God, it could get so much
worse. I
worse.
was going to say it could get a lot worse.
Not going to say that, but I think RFK Jr., even with his endorsement record, is saying at least better at least he's saying the stuff. Like, it used to be politicians would say the stuff you want to hear to get elected. Now they're not even saying those things. They're like, your life's gonna fucking suck and I'm gonna make it suck, you should vote for me.
Now if RFK comes in and he brings a running mate that's Tulsi Gabbard in,
yeah, maybe
that would sweeten the pot for me.
How about this? Donald J. Trump with RFK Jr. as a running mate.
I'd do that.
You would do that? God, I would do that just for the ridiculous insanity. On that note, we got to get out of here. We are out of time. RFK Jr. is going to be Donald J. Trump's running mate, or maybe they're going to be co-presidents because
there you go.
Neither one of them.
Yes, to unite the country, they're coming together as co-presidents.
Yes, co-presidents. That's what we're going for here. And RFK Jr. will probably be assassinated because
in the kitchen.
But his assassination brings America together. Just like every other tragedy, I guess.
That would be beautiful.
Poetic.
Yes, it'd make his dad proud.
Make sure you check us out all over social medias. Let us know what you think. Would you vote for RFK Jr. knowing what you know today? Would you vote for him? Yeah. I mean, he sounds like an okay choice.
Like I said,
he does have his lust demons, but
I'm fascinated. Like I said, he's somebody I'm definitely going to keep an eye on. I would put him. I mean, knowing the other candidates right now, I mean, I would say he's my front runner.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's your front runner, but you want to vote for him.
No, not yet.
He's my front runner, but I'm not voting for him.
We still have 2 years.
Okay.
So,
about a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Let us know what you think about this guy. If you have any dirt on him, especially, dig it up and let us know. The comment section is always open. We also have a Facebook forum called the Breaking the Bell Forum. If you don't like your friends and family knowing that you're crazy, you can come join us in that crazy, more kind of private group where you can be crazy at your own discretion. If you like the world, or the world already knows that you're fucking nuts, I like to hang out on Twitter. And my handle there is @BreakTheBellPod. I like to stir the most shit on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter @BreakTheBellPod. Follow Bill at BillFilter3.
I don't even know how I got that.
I don't know. You're not the third. So he doesn't know how to math. But follow us both on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. Like, subscribe, share this far and wide so we can have a chance at running for political office someday because of our fame and fortune.
Yes.
Make sure you do that and look forward to that announced candidacy that none of us want to do, but we will if we need to, if the world ever gets there.
Looking like it
is. So, otherwise, have a great rest of your week. Join us for all the other shit that we do. We tentatively will be doing a morning show, the 2 Scoops Morning Podcast this week. Just kind of stand by for that announcement because I'm not sure. I haven't talked to my brother yet to see if he's going to bitch out of that or not. So keep an eye out for that. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.